Imagine sitting in a windowless room and being handed an ultimatum. On one hand, you can demand a trial to prove your innocence, but if you lose, you will spend 41 years to life in a cage. On the other, you can confess to a crime you didn't commit and walk away with a fraction of that time. That was the exact calculation placed in front of Brian Banks in 2002. He was 16 years old, a high school junior, and a standout athlete. He was already a premier football recruit, holding an offer to play for the University of Southern California. His trajectory toward the NFL was practically locked in. Then a classmate named Wynetta Gibson made an accusation. She told police that Banks had dragged her into a stairwell at Long Beach Polytechnic High School and assaulted her. The forensic kit came back negative. There was no matching DNA. Banks maintained that they had only shared a consensual kiss. Yet, based entirely on a single uncorroborated statement, the prosecution charged him with kidnapping and forcible rape. As the trial approached, his own defense attorney pulled him aside. She told him that if he, a large black teenager, walked into a courtroom, an all-white jury would look at him and instantly find him guilty. Terrified, Banks agreed to a plea bargain. His lawyer assured him that by pleading no contest, he would likely receive a short stint in juvenile hall or perhaps just probation. But the judge ignored the recommendation. Without explanation, he sentenced the teenager to the maximum penalty allowed under the deal: 6 years in state prison. The state secured its conviction without having to present a single piece of physical evidence to a jury. The system prioritized the swift closure of the case over an investigation into the facts. This is how the plea machine operates. By threatening an accused person with decades of confinement, the state applies enough pressure to extract a confession, making actual guilt or innocence entirely irrelevant to the outcome. Banks spent 5 years surviving inside maximum security facilities. His college scholarship vanished. His NFL window closed. Even after he walked out of the prison gates at age 22, he was not free. He was forced to register as a sex offender and wear a GPS tracking device strapped to his ankle for another 5 years. We can visualize this pressure using a psychological concept called the innocent defendant's dilemma. This matrix plots the risk of a severe trial sentence against a lenient plea offer. In a controlled study, when faced with severe penalties for maintaining their innocence, over 56% of completely innocent participants chose to falsely confess. Brian Banks was not a rare exception who fell through the cracks. He was the predictable output of an equation designed to break human resolve. 4 years into his parole, Banks was scrolling through Facebook when a friend request appeared. It was Wynetta Gibson, the woman who had sent him to prison. She sent him a message asking to talk. She admitted that she had fabricated the assault back in high school and wanted to make amends for the lie. Banks knew a text message wouldn't be enough to clear his name. He refused to meet her alone. Instead, he hired a private investigator to wire a room with hidden cameras and microphones. On tape, Gibson confessed. She also revealed why she had never come forward. After Banks went to prison, she sued the Long Beach School District for lax security and walked away with a $1.5 million settlement. Admitting the truth meant losing the money. Without that secret recording, it would have been Banks's word. I look at his case again. Armed with the tape, the California Innocence Project took on his appeal. In May 2012, a judge officially reversed the conviction and cleared his name. The fallout for Gibson was severe. She lost her settlement, plus massive financial penalties, totaling $2.6 million to the district. With his record expunged, Banks went back to the sport he had been stripped of. Despite being a decade removed from high school football, he signed an NFL contract. In August 2013, he put on an Atlanta Falcons helmet, taking the field for his first professional snaps, recording a tackle in the fourth quarter. He finally achieved his childhood goal, but he can never recover the 5 long years spent inside a prison cell, or the 5 years tethered to a GPS monitor. The Hollywood ending of Brian Banks' story masks a structural flaw in the American legal system that remains completely intact today. Look at this breakdown. Over 95% of U.S. criminal convictions result from guilty pleas. Trials are a statistical anomaly. Prosecutors hold immense leverage. By stacking charges and mandatory minimums, they make asserting your right to a trial too mathematically dangerous for the average person. Banks was exonerated because his accuser reached out on social media. For every case like his, there are unseen thousands sitting in state facilities who simply couldn't afford the gamble of a trial and who will never receive a Facebook message to clear their name. The justice system didn't malfunction when it convicted a 16-year-old boy with no physical evidence. It operated exactly as it was designed to.